what's been the worst wedding experience you've had?
The day my husband picked up an extra shift at work on our wedding night. Don't worry, though, he didn't actually end up working on our wedding night, he was just cheating. I found that out much later.
Wow, you just told a more interesting cheating story in 3 sentences than most long book reports I see here. He's your ex-husband, right? And wow, how long did it take you to figure out he wasn't working? What a jerk.
It was during the quarantine, and I found out later, finally checking his phone after some very suspicious behavior, that he actually wasn't going to work about 1/3 of the time he claimed, and he had never been faithful, ever, to anyone he was with. Yeah, he's my ex. Interestingly enough, he recently tried begging me to come back, and I just sent everything to his current partner, the main one, who actually ruined her own marriage to be with this fool. It's only been a few months and he's already trying to cheat on her too.
Ugh, that's awful. I'm sorry you were married to that clown. It seems to be his problem over and over again, until he figures out why he can't be happy with just one person. I hope you found someone much better or are happily single.
This incident happened a long time ago. I was dating this guy, and his sister sent out wedding invitations to Hawaii. His mother offered to pay for us to attend. So, the two of us and his parents flew there. At the airport, the happy couple greeted us, and we all went to dinner. There were many toasts, happy memories, and quite a few of her family members attended this dinner. The next day, all of us were left to wander the island while the couple was busy with the final preparations. On the wedding day, my then boyfriend and I were awakened by frantic banging on our hotel room door. It was his mom, crying. Long story short, the groom-to-be let the bride know that he would not be attending the wedding. Turns out, the guy never sent invitations to his family because he knew long before the wedding that he was going to bail. He just finally did it on the wedding day itself. What a wild trip that was.
The music for the wedding was recorded by the bride and groom, neither of whom were singers. Basically pre-recorded karaoke. They ran out of food for the last 2 tables, which happened to be the co-workers of the bride. We had to order pizza for delivery and pay for it ourselves. The bride's family refused to pay for it. You never remember the good weddings, but you never forget the bad ones. Something similar happened to me. I was the groom's cousin and was placed at a table with his high school friends. I didn't know anyone at the table but got to know them all over the course of the night. We were table 16 out of 16, so we knew we would have to wait. The guys and I ended up drinking quite a few beers each. By the time it was our turn, there was barely any food left. I had a roll, a few pieces of lettuce, and carrots. I got pizza afterward too because I needed something, and nothing else was open that late. One of my military buddies was getting married to a girl who was also in the military, a pretty big wedding, including maybe some 100+ people who were either still active duty or veterans. During the reception, after playing a handful of upbeat hits, the band had everyone on the dance floor. They'd just run through Mr. Brightside, Valerie, Shout, etc., and as they rolled out of all the small things, the singer said something to the effect of, "Hey, we know this is a big military wedding, so this next song is for you." And so began a slow and downbeat rock rendition of the national anthem, like Aretha Franklin slow. For those who aren't familiar, common protocol for military members and veterans is to stand at attention, straight and still, and salute or place their hand over their heart as the national anthem played. We were all pretty drunk and had spent the past 15 minutes jumping and shouting and singing and dancing before, on cue, standing stiff as a board for 5 minutes while trying not to fall over. The band immediately recognized the issue, but once you start playing the national anthem you can't just stop because it's awkward, right? Think of the troops. Anyway, the only thing that's worse than being really hammered and trying to not fall over while some bloke in his late 40s takes some artistic liberties with the national anthem is when that bloke doesn't commit to the bit and tries to half-ass the performance. That was weird. Would never think to put the national anthem on the do not playlist, but I think it's not a bad idea.
Once, only once, sadly, I was at an exotic dancers performance competition. It was 2002. The performances were group numbers with 4 dancers in whatever sets, costumes, and props they wanted, plus the floor manager from the club, inevitably male, had to make a cameo. My friend's crew did a Queen of the Damned inspired number and killed it. They built a vampire throne, artfully faux murdered the manager, and were super hot. They won and got to compete again in Vegas. 2 of the other 4 groups were normal and fun to watch. Then there was the 4th group. The ones who thought they could win by appealing to patriotism, I think. They started their set with a dark stage and the Star-Spangled Banner playing, normal speed at least, as an American flag unfurled from the ceiling. Awkward drunken standing ensues, sexy vibes are reduced. And then they turned on some flashing lights and, seriously still can't believe this happened even now, played audio clips from the 9/11 Twin Towers tragedy. Like, yelling and calls to emergency services. The lights reveal the costumes. They are sexy first responders, sexy firemen, sexy police officer, sexy paramedic, sexy soldier. They legitimately pitched the ensuing bump and grind as a tribute to the heroes of that dark day. Found out my dad had Parkinson's at my brother's wedding, last one in the entire family to find out. They had been hiding it from me for a while. My grandma had recently been confined to a wheelchair and pooped her pants at my brother's wedding. At my ex-friend's wedding, I showed up prepared to be the maid of honor and found out from the makeup person that there was another maid of honor. We found out she had two of us working as maid of honor secretly. We both quit.
Wow, so she had been deceiving both of you? What was the plan?
I lived 7 hours away, was in college, and worked multiple jobs, so it was hard for me to get away and do wedding stuff. She constantly texted me and called me to tell me how horrible of a friend I was. So she ended up telling this other person, it turned out to be a distant cousin or something, that I was no longer the maid of honor and she was now on duty. Well, I was never told this, but I continued to do what I could from far away. It was really awkward. The other girl was so sad and hurt, but I just wanted to get out of there. We were also friends from a young age, and the friendship was always toxic. Perhaps these weird weddings happened so we could finally end it. This person got married on Father's Day.
Was Grandma pooping and Dad having Parkinson's the same wedding, or do you have two very unlucky brothers?
It was the same wedding. Grandma pooped, and then at the end of the wedding, my drunken cousin comes over to me and says he's sorry to hear about my dad, but he seems like he's doing okay. My dad had left the wedding very early. Once I learned more about it, I realized why our dance together physically felt uncomfortable for him. My parents are divorced, and I don't get to see him often.
At my father's stepsister's wedding, I was 5. It was hot. The groom smashed cake in her face even after she told him not to. She smashed cake in his face and broke his nose. Blood everywhere. We left as the ambulance was arriving. When I was in my 30s, at my cousin's wedding, his wife had asked him not to smash the cake, and he didn't. Instead, the best man, who was a massive asshole, did it. We left. Didn't get any cake at either wedding.
It blows my mind how many people don't know that feeding a bite of cake to your partner is a ritual to promise kindness. The destruction and mess aren't funny, they're sad.
I saw a video online somewhere that looked like this wedding took place in a Middle Eastern country or somewhere like that. The marriage looked arranged. The bride looked very shy yet was trying to be a bit playful to lighten the mood. The groom looked angry for no reason. The bride had the piece of cake and teasingly took the piece away from his mouth before he was about to bite. The groom slaps her straight across the face while a few people yanked him off of her. I seriously hope that groom had his ass handed to him and that marriage got annulled. If I recall correctly, there is a statistically higher number of divorces when the married couple does the cake smash compared to those who feed the cake respectfully.
My husband and I have been married for over 20 years. He is generally a fantastic and thoughtful person, but at that time, it was super fashionable to smash cake in your spouse's face. I told him that wasn't funny. After all the time spent prepping makeup, hair, the dress, and decorating, I said it would be disrespectful. I said if he smashed cake in my face, even a little bit, would annul the marriage so fast. He respected my wishes, and I didn't do it to him either. Now that's nice, that I'd be happy with. It's sweet and affectionate. I hate the cake smash trend, especially given how much wedding cakes cost and they're often held up with wooden spikes inside so you could cause someone an injury. My husband and I are high school sweethearts, married for 16 years. We got married on our lunch break with his parents there since they lived closest. When we were finally off work and had our honeymoon, we did the cake. I told him straight up, if you smash my face in the cake, we're done. Instead, he took a bit of icing, put it on the tip of my nose, and then kissed it off. He may be silly, but I love it. There's so many different ways to put wedding cake on your spouse without embarrassing them and being an asshole.
And well, friends, that was all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, let me know with a thumbs up so that YouTube can share these stories with more people. Remember to hit the bell icon to be the first to know when we upload a new video. See you next time.